Okay, picture this for a second. You've won.
Yeah.
And I don't mean, a scratch-off ticket. I mean, you have won the game of life.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. You're standing in a corner office, view of the city skyline, the kind of view that costs more than most people make in, like, a decade.
Right.
You're wearing a $3,000 suit, custom fit, Italian wool, the works. Everyone knows your name. You have the cars, the house, the reputation. You're the person who just never, ever loses.
You are, by every modern metric, a massive success.
An undeniable success.
It's the dream, isn't it? I mean, that is the image we are sold from the time we're kids. Study hard, work hard, get that corner office, and then you'll be happy.
Exactly. It's the poster on the wall. And then snap. Darkness. You're on the floor, chest clutching. The game is over. Not because you lost a case or a deal, but because your body just decided to foreclose on you. You're lying there on that expensive carpet, and it hits you. While you were out conquering the world, you completely lost yourself.
It is a terrifying image. But what's scarier is, well, it's not fiction for a lot of people. It's a real trajectory. We see this narrative play out all the time in, high-performance field. It's kind of the silent epidemic of the successful.
And it just raises this huge question, the one we usually try to avoid until, like, 2 in the morning. What is the point of winning the world if the price is your soul?
What's it all for?
Right. And today, we are diving deep into a story that starts right at that moment of collapse. We're looking at Wisdom from the Himalayan Monk by Robin Sharma.
Oh, this is a classic text in the personal mastery space. And it's so interesting because it's framed as a fable, a story, but really it's a tactical manual for living. It goes after the heavy hitters, life's purpose, inner peace.
And the actual, non-marketing definition of happiness.
Exactly.
So the mission for this deep dive is, well, it's pretty clear. We want to strip away that hustle culture mindset we're all sort of drowning in.
The sleep when you're dead mentality.
That's the one. And we want to explore the ancient wisdom the protagonist found up in the Himalayas because, let's be honest, I think we're all a little bit exhausted by the grind. I know I am.
Exhausted is, putting it mildly. There is a collective burnout happening. People are looking for an off-ramp or at least a way to, slow the car down.
Yeah.
And that is exactly why this story resonates so much. It forces us to ask if success and happiness are actually enemies or if maybe there's a way to bridge that gap.
So let's meet our avatar for this whole burnout crisis. His name is Julian Mantle. The source material describes him as this high-powered, super successful lawyer. But it's not a flattering description.
Not at all.
He's highly stressed, he's chasing money and fame, and he is completely neglecting his health, his personal life. He's the guy who has everything, but has nothing left in the tank.
Julian is really a mirror, isn't he? A mirror for a very specific type of modern dysfunction. He represents that successful but empty archetype.
I feel like if you walk into any financial district, any top-tier law firm, you see 100 Julians.
Absolutely. And if we really unpack Julian, his pursuit is so linear. It's an algorithm. Input extreme hard work, output money and fame, then just repeat.
And the source highlights that he's doing this at the expense of everything else. I think that's the key phrase right there, at the expense of.
It is. It's a zero-sum game for him.
To win in the courtroom, he has to lose in his living room. He's literally trading his biological reality for social status.
Precisely. The cost is his health, his private life. He has sacrificed his biology and his relationships on the altar of his career. And what's fascinating and frankly dangerous is that our society applauds this while it's happening.
We call it dedication.
We call it drive. We put these people on magazine covers, but the source makes it so clear this wasn't dedication. It was slow motion destruction.
And that destruction just hits a wall, the wake-up call. Julian has a massive heart attack right in the middle of a courtroom.
The collapse.
Yeah. And in the story, this isn't just some medical blip. It's a forced stop button.
Yeah.
It's nature itself saying, look, if you won't listen to the whispers, I'm going to throw a brick at your head.
Which raises such an important psychological question. Why does it so often take a crisis, a heart attack, a divorce, a death in the family, for people to actually rethink their lives?
Right.
Why do we have this compulsion to only examine our path when our own mortality is, like, staring us in the face?
It's like we're sleepwalking until the house catches fire. We just assume the status quo is fine, that
Right.
it's sustainable.
Exactly. We operate under what psychologists might call a delusion of permanence. In Julian's case, the heart attack just shattered that illusion of immortality that so many high achievers have.
You feel invincible.
You do.
Mm.
When you are winning cases and making money, that feedback loop of success, it numbs you to the damage you're doing to yourself. The heart attack was the reality check. It stripped away the great lawyer identity and just left a fragile, frightened human being. It created a vacuum where his ego used to be.
So Julian survives. But here's where the story pivots from, a tragedy to a quest. Most people would survive heart attacks, maybe cut back on the red meat.
Take a few weeks off.
Right, and then slowly slide back into the grind because that's all they know. Julian does something radical.
He abandons the luxury life completely.
He sells everything, the Ferrari, the mansion, even his private island. The source says he leaves his luxury life behind and just heads to the Himalayas.
The symbolism there is just incredibly potent. I mean, think about the contrast.
Oh, yeah.
He moves from the courtroom, a place of conflict, noise, argument, adversarial ego, to the Himalayas, high altitude, silence, ancient rock, thin air.
It's the ultimate geographical cure.
Yeah.
He's looking for a reset button that he knows just doesn't exist in his world, in the Western world.
And he goes seeking sadhus or sages. He realizes that the people in his current world, the other lawyers, the rich clients, they don't have the answers.
They're all playing the same broken game.
Exactly. They're playing the same game he just lost. So he realizes if you want a new result, you need a new playbook. He knew his map didn't lead to the treasure. It led straight to a cliff. So he threw the map away.
I love that framing. He realized he was climbing the ladder, but the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. So let's talk about what he found when he got to the top of that mountain. This is section 2 of our deep dive, and it's really about the definition of true happiness. Because I think we all think we know what happiness is, but Julian's journey, it suggests we're getting it very wrong.
Well, we have to deconstruct the old view first, right? Julian's old view is the default setting for our culture. Happiness is external.
Something you acquire.
Exactly. You buy it, you drive it, you wear it. It's an object. It's a thing.
It's the if-then fallacy. If I get the promotion, then I'll be happy. If I buy the beach house, then I'll be happy. We treat happiness like it's a reward for suffering.
We do. We postpone living in exchange for some future that may never even arrive. It's a deferred life plan. The source material just flips this on its head as soon as he gets to the Himalayas. The new paradigm, he learns, is that true happiness is internal.
It's not a destination.
Not at all. It's a state of being you have to cultivate. It's not about what you get. It's about how you process what you have.
The source actually gives us a specific list of components for this true happiness. It breaks it down into 5 key things. I really want to go through these because they sound so simple on paper, almost like
greeting card slogans.
Yeah, exactly. But when you actually try to put them into practice in a busy life, they are incredibly hard to pull off.
Okay, let's break them down.
First one on the list, peace of mind.
Okay, now contrast that with Julian's legal career. His mind was a war zone. And peace of mind here doesn't just mean sitting in a quiet room with noise-canceling headphones on. It means the absence of that constant chattering anxiety. It means mental clarity. In the source, this is presented as the foundation. You just can't build happiness on a frantic mind any more than you can build a house on quicksand. If your internal monologue is a screaming match, nothing external is ever going to make you happy.
It brings up that idea that you take yourself with you wherever you go. You can be in a paradise resort, but if your mind is still in a traffic jam, you're in a traffic jam.
Precisely. Peace of mind is the ability to just sit in a room and not need to be anywhere else.
Okay, next up is self-discipline. Now, I have to be honest. When I hear discipline, my mind immediately goes to punishment.
Sure.
I think of waking up at 4 a.m. to run in the freezing rain when I really don't want to. It feels restrictive. But the source frames this as a component of happiness. How does that work?
This is such a critical reframe. In this Himalayan context, discipline isn't about punishment at all. It's about freedom. Yeah, think about it. If you don't have the discipline to say no to distractions or no to your own negative impulses or no to that third slice of cake, you are a slave to your urges. You're just reactive. Julian learned that discipline provides the structure that allows happiness to even exist. It's like the trellis that lets the vine grow. Without that structure, the vine just rots on the ground.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
So discipline is actually the tool that protects your happiness from chaos.
Yes.
It's saying no to the little things so you can say yes to the big things.
Correct. It's about being the architect of your habits rather than, the victim of them.
Okay, third one, purposeful living.
Having a why. Before, Julian's why was, what? Accumulating status. But that's such a shallow why. It has a bottom. Once you get the status, then what?
Right.
Purposeful living means your actions align with a deeper value system. It's about waking up and knowing that what you're doing matters in a cosmic or human sense, not just a financial one. It answers the question, what am I contributing, instead of what am I taking?
It's the difference between a resume and a eulogy, isn't it? A resume lists what you achieved for yourself. A eulogy lists who you helped and how you loved.
Perfectly put. And purpose gives you resilience. If you have a strong enough purpose, you can endure almost any how.
Fourth on the list, positive thinking. Now, I challenge this a bit. Does this just mean ignoring all the bad stuff? Is this that toxic positivity where we're supposed to just smile while the ship sinks?
No, and the source is actually very careful here. It's not about delusion. It's about the stewardship of your mindset.
Stewardship. I like that.
It's understanding that your reality is shaped by your perception.
Yeah.
If you view the world as a hostile place where everyone is out to get you, which is a very lawyer way to think, by the way, always looking for the threat, you will be miserable, even in paradise. Positive thinking in this context is more like gardening. You have to tend to the garden of your mind, removing the weeds of negativity before they can take root. It's an active process, not passive. You choose to focus on the opportunity rather than the lack.
So it's not pretending the weeds don't exist. It's actively pulling them out so they don't choke the flowers.
Yes, it's acknowledging the negative, but refusing to let it set up camp in your brain.
And finally, balance.
The antidote to obsession. Julian was an extremist. He was all in on work. He worked until he broke. Balance is the recognition that life is a multifaceted gem. You need health, you need intellect, you need spirit, you need relationships. If you only polish one side of that gem, the career side, and ignore the others, the gem is basically worthless. It's like portfolio management, but for your life energies.
It's so interesting how these abstract concepts, peace, discipline, balance, are presented in the source not as nice-to-haves, but as practical replacements for material success. It's like you swap the Ferrari for peace of mind. And the argument is that it's a massive upgrade.
It is the ultimate upgrade because the Ferrari can be scratched, it can be stolen, it breaks down, it goes out of style. Peace of mind is yours. It cannot be repossessed by the bank. It's an asset that actually appreciates over time.
So Julian's up in the mountains, he's breathing the thin air, and he starts downloading these heavy lessons from the sages. The source outlines 5 specific pillars of wisdom. This is really the core curriculum.
The instruction manual.
Exactly. I want to deep dive into each of these because this is really the how-to for anyone listening.
Let's do it. These pillars are the structural beams of the new life he is building for himself.
Okay, lesson number 1, mind control is key. The source quote is pretty direct. Controlling the mind is the key to success.
This sounds almost like a superpower or, something out of a sci-fi movie. But if we really analyze it, it's the prerequisite for everything else. If you cannot control your own thoughts, you cannot control your life. It's that simple.
Julian's old life was totally reactive. The phone rings, he jumps, a client screams, he gets stressed. He was basically a puppet being manipulated by external events.
Exactly. He was a leaf blowing in the wind of other people's emergencies. The lesson here is about moving from being reactive to being proactive. It's about realizing that the mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible, terrible master. If you just let your mind run the show without any supervision, it will default to fear, worry, and judgment. That's just evolution. Our brains are wired to look for danger. Controlling the mind means stepping into the driver's seat. It's the ability to choose your response to a situation rather than just reacting out of habit.
So, in a practical sense, for someone listening, this means catching yourself when you start to spiral.
Yes, it's about metacognition, thinking about your thinking. It means observing your thoughts and asking, is this thought serving me? Is this thought even true? And if it's not, you have the power to just dismiss it. That is true power. That's a deeper power than winning any court case. The source suggests that most of us just let any old thought walk right into our living room and trash the place. Mind control is just putting a bouncer at the door.
I love that image, the bouncer of the mind. Sorry, anxiety. Your name's not on the list tonight. You can't come in.
Exactly that. It requires training, though. It's a muscle. You wouldn't expect to bench press 300 pounds without training, right? But we expect to control our minds without ever practicing focus or meditation.
All right, lesson number 2, discipline and learning. The source says, self-discipline and continuous learning are necessary.
We touched on discipline, but adding the continuous learning part is fascinating. It suggests that growth doesn't just stop when you become rich or successful.
I feel like a lot of people think, okay, I finished college, I got the certification, I'm done learning, now I just earn.
And that is the death of the soul. That's stagnation. The Japanese have a word for the opposite concept, kaizen, constant, never-ending improvement. The idea here is that the self is a project that is never finished. You are always under construction. Julian had to learn that just because he was a top lawyer didn't mean he knew how to live. He had to become a student again, and that humility is absolutely key.
It's the difference between thinking, I know everything, and I can learn anything.
Right, and discipline is the fuel for that learning. It takes discipline to read a book instead of scrolling on social media. It takes discipline to meditate instead of just watching TV. It takes discipline to sit in silence when your brain is screaming for distraction. The source is saying that you cannot maintain a high quality of life without the discipline to maintain the machinery of your mind.
It reminds me of people who buy a really expensive car but never change the oil. Eventually, the engine just seizes.
That's a perfect metaphor.
Julian's engine seized. Continuous learning is the oil change.
You have to maintain the asset, and you are the asset.
Okay, lesson number 3, the value of time. The source point here is pretty stark. Time is the most valuable asset.
This is the one that usually hits people the hardest. Julian wasted years. He traded his most limited resource time for a resource that's basically unlimited money.
Which is so ironic, isn't it? As a lawyer, he literally sold his time, billable hours. He put a price tag on every 6 minutes of his life.
He commodified his own existence, he did. But up in the Himalayas, he learns that time isn't billable hours, it's life force. You can always make more money. You can lose $1 million and make it back. You can never, ever make more time. When a day is gone, it is gone forever. It is just ash.
Wow.
The source emphasizes that mastering time isn't about productivity hacks or squeezing more work into the day. That's the old Julian. It's about ensuring that the time you spend is aligned with those core values we were just talking about.
It's about not wasting your life on things that just don't matter. It's the deathbed test, right? Nobody on their deathbed says, gosh, I wish I spent more time arguing in court.
Exactly. They wish they spent more time watching the sunset or being with their family or pursuing a passion. Julian realized he was bankrupt in the one currency that mattered, the currency of time, despite being a millionaire in dollars. He realized the sand was running out of the hourglass, and he'd been using that sand to build castles that the tide was just washing away.
That is a haunting image. It really makes you look at how you spent the last 24 hours. Was it an investment or an expense?
For most of us, we spend time like it's infinite. We procrastinate, we gossip, we doom scroll. The sages teach that time mastery is actually life mastery.
Lesson number 4. The service mindset. The source says, service, gratitude, and love give life meaning.
This is the big pivot from me to we. Julian's entire previous existence was self-centered. My win, my career, my reputation, my suit.
My.
Right, and the sages taught him that a self-centered life is a small life. It's claustrophobic.
It's lonely at the top if you're only there for yourself.
Precisely. Service connects you to the rest of humanity. It expands your identity. When you serve others, you stop ruminating on your own petty problems. It's actually a very selfish way to be happy, paradoxically. And gratitude. Gratitude is the lens that changes how you see the world. If you focus on what you lack, you will always be unhappy no matter how much you have. You could have billions and still feel poor because you're focusing on the one thing you don't have. But if you focus on gratitude on what you do have, you are instantly rich.
So gratitude isn't just saying thank you. It's an entire shift in perspective. It's shifting from scarcity to abundance.
Yes, it's a hacked operating system for the brain. And love, of course, is the binding agent. Loving what you do, loving the people around you. It sounds soft, I know, especially to the cynical corporate ear, but the source argues it's actually the hardest and most rewarding work there is. It requires vulnerability, which takes way more courage than arguing a case in court.
Okay, lesson number 5, and this is the big one that kind of wraps it all up. Spiritual versus material wealth. The source says, spiritual richness is more important than material possessions.
This is the synthesis of everything. The car, the house, the money, that is the material. The internal state, the peace, the purpose, that is the spiritual. Now, the source isn't necessarily saying you have to live in a cave and own nothing. It's not an anti-wealth book.
Right.
But it also is saying that if you prioritize the material over the spiritual, you will crash. It's all about the hierarchy.
It's about which one is the driver and which one is the passenger.
Correct. Spiritual wealth is the engine. Material wealth is just the paint job. You can have a shiny car with no engine, and it's not going to go anywhere. Julian had a shiny life that wasn't going anywhere. Now he has the engine. He realized that material success without spiritual fulfillment is the ultimate failure. It's winning the battle but losing the war.
I think there's a massive misconception that spiritual means religious or mystical. But in this context, spiritual just seems to mean internal.
That's such a vital distinction. Spiritual here refers to the quality of your inner life, your resilience, your joy, your connection to something bigger than your own ego. You can be an atheist and have immense spiritual wealth, and you can be a devout religious person and be spiritually bankrupt if your inner world is just full of hate and chaos.
Okay, so let's move to section 4, the application and the return. Julian gets all this wisdom. He's up in the Himalayas. He's happy. He's healthy. He looks 10 years younger. He's glowing. Most people would just stay there. Why go back to the world that almost killed him?
Because part of the wisdom, specifically that service aspect, demands it. You can't really claim to be enlightened if you just turn your back on suffering. The source says he returns to share his experiences so that others can live meaningful, balanced, and happy lives.
He becomes the teacher.
Yes. He transforms from the lawyer whose job is to argue and win for himself to the teacher whose job is to share and help others win. He realizes that hoarding wisdom is just as bad as hoarding money. If he stays up in the mountains, he saves himself. If he returns, he might save thousands. It's the final step of the hero's journey, the return with the elixir.
That is a powerful distinction, and the source really emphasizes that these lessons aren't just for monks. I think that's so important for our listener. You don't have to quit your job and move to Nepal to apply this stuff.
No, and if the book demanded that, it wouldn't be very useful, would it? That's the universal application. The main message of the book, as our source puts it, is that real success is accessible anywhere. It's not found in a cave. It is found in your choices. It is not in wealth, but in spiritual peace, self-knowledge, and your life's true purpose. You can practice mind control in a traffic jam on the freeway. You can practice gratitude in a stressful staff meeting. You can practice service in your own neighborhood.
It's about bringing the Himalayas to the city.
Beautifully put. It is about creating an internal sanctuary that travels with you regardless of the chaos outside. You become the mountain. The weather changes all around you, but you remain solid.
So let's look at the practical application for someone listening right now. They're driving to work, or maybe they're at the gym. They feel the stress. They feel those Julian tendencies, the need to win, the anxiety, the lack of time. What's the first step?
The first step is just awareness. It's realizing that the script you're following might be broken. It's stopping for a moment, just like Julian was forced to stop, and asking, is this working?
And recognizing that working doesn't just mean making money. It means making a life.
Right. It's about redefining success. If your definition of success includes a heart attack at 50, your definition is flawed. You have to check your metrics. Are you measuring your life by your net worth or by your self-worth?
So what does this all mean for us? Let's wrap this up.
If we look at Julian's arc, it's a journey through stages. He started in what you might call unconscious incompetence. He didn't even know he was living wrong. Then came the painful awakening, the heart attack, then the search to the Himalayas, and finally, conscious wisdom. It's stress to success, to heart attack, to enlightenment, to return.
The big takeaway here is pretty stark. You can be successful on paper and completely fail at life.
That is the crux of it. Real success requires internal work. It requires excavation. You have to dig past the ego, past the titles, past the desire for validation to find the bedrock of peace and self-knowledge, and that is hard work. It's harder than working 80 hours a week.
Why is it harder?
Because there's no applause for it. When you work 80 hours, people say, good job. When you sit in silence and confront your own demons, nobody claps. But that is where the real victory is. That is where you win the game of life for real.
And if you don't do that work, life, it has a way of forcing you to do it eventually.
Yeah.
Usually through a crisis.
The universe is a persistent teacher. It'll keep throwing pebbles at you to get your attention. A headache, a bad night's sleep, a feeling of emptiness, a strained relationship. If you ignore the pebbles, it throws a rock, maybe a breakup or a lost job. If you ignore the rock, it throws a brick, the heart attack. Julian got the brick. The hope is that by reading his story or, listening to this deep dive, we can learn the lesson from the pebbles before the brick arrives.
I love that. Listen to the pebbles so you don't get hit by the brick.
Yeah.
So here's a provocative final thought for you to mull over today. We talked about Julian losing everything to find himself. So listener, if you were forced to stop everything today, if you were stripped of your job, your status, your bank account, and all your possessions, would you still have a purpose? If you couldn't introduce yourself by your job title, who would you be? Or was the chase your only purpose? Who are you when the winning stops?
That is the ultimate question. If
Okay.
you are nothing without the suit, then maybe you shouldn't be wearing it.
Oof, that hits hard. On that note, go find your own bit of Himalayan wisdom in the chaos today. Maybe take 5 minutes of silence instead of scrolling.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Stay balanced.